Live from Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Canada, WWOR-TV presents Mets Baseball 89 as today, the Mets take on the Montreal Expos. And Mets Baseball 89 is brought to you this afternoon by Bud Light, the light beer with a first name and taste. Everything else is just a light. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan, building cars for people who want more than just a means of getting from here to there. Nissan, built for the human race. By Hyatt Hotels and Resorts. On your next trip, feel that Hyatt touch. By Sears, Craftsman Eager One, America's easy-to-start power more. By your New York, New Jersey, and Southern Connecticut Oldsmobile dealers. And by the 9X Yellow Pages. If it's out there, it's in here. Pitching for the Mets today, right-hander Dwight Gooden, who's 1-0 with an ERA of 3.86. And on the mound for the Expos, right-hander Dennis Martinez with a record of 0-0 and an ERA of 3.86.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Steve Zabriskie and Tim McCarver, all set for the final game of this three-game series with the Montreal Expos. The Expos have won the first two, and the Mets are not getting the runs in. They have left in this series a total of 11-8 for 19, and the Mets are 10th in runs scored in the National League. Only two teams, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Dodgers, have scored fewer runs. And, Tim, that's been one of their big problems.
So far, but it looks like the Mets' batting averages look like a welterweight weigh-in. That's so far. They have faced some good pitching, however, from the Cardinals and the Expos, but that's to be expected. And good pitching, kind of the theme of today's game, Ralph, because Dennis Martinez and Dwight Gooden going against each other, two great right-handers. The last time, however, they faced each other was right here at the Olympic Stadium here in Montreal, and both of them were rattled, and that was last year on opening day when the Mets won 10-6. Gooden did get credit for the win, but he was never hit harder in his major league career. So he's looking for a different twist today, I'd say. And
Gooden did get 8 runs in the one game. The Mets did get some runs across home plate. We'll be back for the start of the ball game in just a moment, right after this message from Bud Light.
Welcome back to the Big O in Montreal, where the Expos are off to the best start in the National League this year. They are 4-1 going into today's game. Much of that at the expense of the New York Mets, having won the first 2 games of this series, and Montreal has now won their last 3 in a row. According to manager Buck Rogers, it all began back in spring training.
Well, I think number one, we went to spring training in the best shape that I've ever seen this club go to spring training in. And number two, the attitude of the players after the Gross trade, the Owens trade, the Aldretti trade. I think they believe themselves, as I do, that we're a legitimate contender now and that we can play with anybody in the league.
With the Mets still not playing up to their potential, the Expos with this 3-game series, and if they can keep it going, have an opportunity to build a little bit of a gap between them and the team everybody still feels is a club to beat the New York Mets. Now let's go back up to the booth.
Okay, Steve, and the Mets against the Montreal Expos in the final game of this 3-game series. The Expos with a chance to sweep the 3-game series. The last time they did that was back on June 10th, 11th, and 12th last year. At one point, the Expos got to within 4 games of the Mets as Doc Gooden completes his warm-up pitches. That was back on August 14th, but the Mets beat him a doubleheader. They went on to lose 7 more games, a total of 9, and finished at 81-81, 20 games behind the Mets in 3rd place. Mets last year with 100 victories under the guidance of Davey Johnson, who has won 445 games in his major league career. And we'll be back with the lineups in just a moment, right after this word from Pergamon. Dennis Martinez on the mound for Montreal. Last year with a record of 15-12. This year he's 0-0. He has worked 7 innings, given up 8 hits, allowed just 3 earned runs, walking none and striking out 3 in his 1 appearance this year.
And the lineup for the Mets, Mookie Wilson again starting against the right-hander. He'll lead it off. Greg Jeffries at second base, batting second. Keith Hernandez, the first baseman, hitting in that familiar 3-hole. Darryl Strawberry, the right fielder, batting fourth. Kevin McReynolds in left field, hitting fifth. Gary Carter was given a day off yesterday. He's back behind the plate. He'll bat sixth. Howard Johnson, the third baseman, batting seventh. Kevin Elster at shortstop, hitting eighth. And Doc Gooden on the mound, batting ninth.
And backing up Martinez will be Aldretti at first base in place of Galarraga. Foley playing second base, Owen at shortstop, and Wallach at third. Raines, Martinez, and Brooks in the outfield left to right. Santovenia the catcher. And Galarraga, who was presented with a special gift here prior to the ball game, voted the top player for the Montreal Expos last year, being rested today, giving Aldretti a chance to play. The umpires for the game today: Jerry Crawford behind home plate, Joe West at first base, Charlie Williams the umpire at second, and John McSherry, who is the head of this crew, the umpire at third.
Ralph, concerning Aldretti, I asked Buck Rogers why he was being rested in only the 6th game of the season, and it was to give Mike Aldretti some at-bats. It wasn't resting Galarraga, who batted .302 last year, but to give Mike Aldretti, a guy with a sweet stroke, some at-bats, because he's going to fill in if Hubie Brooks goes down in right field, or if Tim Raines goes down in left field, or if Andres Galarraga goes down at first base. He'll be the regular one of those 3 positions.
Aldretti, acquired from San Francisco, has hit Gooden well. He's hitting .353 against Gooden lifetime, but so has Galarraga hit Gooden well. He's hitting .333 with 5 hits against Dwight Gooden. So it'll be Mookie Wilson to lead it off. Mookie hitting at .125. He's had 1 hit and 8 at-bats this year, and the fastball is fouled away. Mookie in this series 0 for 3. Martinez lifetime with 137 victories, 116 losses, and he was originally with the Baltimore Orioles, where Frank Cashin was the general manager running the ball club. Frank now, of course, with the New York Mets. And that pitch fouled back out of play. Interesting story about how Baltimore got Martinez, a brewmaster for the brewery that was the sponsor of the Baltimore Oriole team, had seen Martinez pitch in Pan American games. He was from Cuba, and he said they got a good young right-hander down there, so they sent a scout down to scout him, liked him, and signed him up.
It would have been more appropriate then had he signed with the Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers, right? Signed with the Orioles instead, and there's a base hit as Mookie Wilson leads it off with a single. So Mookie is on as we get underway here in the Big O, and the batter will be Greg Jeffries. Martinez, the first player to ever make the major leagues from Nicaragua. Jeffries hitting .188, no home runs, 1 run batted in. In this series, he is 1 for 9. Martinez, a very deliberate pitcher, to say the least.
Part of that being deliberate is the way he throws to all of the bases. Matter of fact, he tied the National League lead in balks last year. Pitch out, first pitch.
Mets have had 6 stolen bases in 9 attempts, so Buck Rogers, who calls the pitch outs, thinking the Mets might be running on the first pitch to Greg Jeffries.
Buck Rogers calling pitch outs like he were managing against himself. He likes to hit and run a lot.
There goes the runner, and the pitch is taken. The throw down to second is in time, and Mookie Wilson is out as Santovenia makes a perfect throw.
Well, I'll say, not only do you have to get it on the bag, you have to get it about knee high to the shortstop or the second baseman. Tom Foley covering, I beg your pardon, the shortstop Spike Owen covering on this play. Wilson could have been in there, but if the ball beats the runner, usually the umpire will judge it that he has him, and it appeared that that's the reason that call was made. But a good throw by Santovenia.
And Jeffries misses the 2-0 pitch, a fastball, 2 balls, 1 strike.
Tell you the one thing, Spike Owen was on the bag on that play, Ralph, but he took the ball in front of the bag. Shortstops and second basemen often take the ball in front of the bag because they're afraid the runner and the ball will arrive at the same time. But at least Owen was on the bag when he received the throw, and that's very, very important.
Spike Owen acquired from the Boston Red Sox and sort of solidify in their shortstop position. That puts the count at 3-1. The on-deck batter for the Mets, Keith Hernandez. Mets started this game with a team batting average at .227 with only 1 home run. Last year they led the National League in home runs and were second in team batting to the Chicago Cubs. And the fastball is fouled off, so the count goes 3-2. Dennis Martinez, lifetime against the Mets, 5-5. 2 years ago, he was 4-0 against the Mets with an earned run average of 0.64. Last year, he won 15 and lost 12 for Montreal. And the 3-2 pitch fouled away again. At one point last year, Martinez had a good winning streak. Won 7 games in a row. Then he won 1 of his last 8 game starts. Montreal getting him only 13 runs in those last 8 starts. Curveball on the 3-2 pitch. It's blooped into left center field for a base hit. Jeffries going to first and holding there as Raines gets to it, and the Mets have 2 hits in a row but still have only 1 base runner.
Sometimes people talk about high curveballs being easy to hit. The toughest curveballs to hit from a right-handed pitcher to a left-handed hitter are the balls around the letters, because you jam yourself with them, and that's what Jeffries did on that ball. Unfortunately, he gets credit for a clunker to left center. The high curveball is the one about belt high. That's the one that hitters really level on.
And now Keith Hernandez, the batter. Keith 1 for 7 in this series, hitting 200 for the season. And the first pitch he called strike. Keith with 3 hits and 15 at bats. Jeffries a good base runner. And the throw over to first base. Martinez will throw over there many, many times.
That could be the difference, that half step or 1 step to keep that base runner close to first base. Baseball not run by the clock, so he can throw over as many times as he wants to. That could be the reason Mookie Wilson was thrown out at second by Santavena, because Martinez gave him a chance.
And the fastball for a ball. Santavena has a good throwing percentage, and a balk called on that one, so Martinez balks Jeffries down to second.
Well, we talked about the balk. He tied with David Cone and Pascual Perez last year. 10 balks those 3 pitchers committed, and this balk called by home plate umpire Jerry Crawford. That discernible stop is not being called this year as much as last year, but it will be called sometimes. And that's the reason that Martinez was called for a balk.
And that balk call, a judgment call by the umpire. Some are much more strict than others. So no pitch in the balk, and that is ball 2. Another fastball. 2 balls, no strike. I think I called that a ball. It was called a strike, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Talking about Martinez and his finish last year, he was shut out 3 times in that bad finish that he had. One time by the Mets pitchers, and the breaking ball on the 1-1 count. So now is 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Boy, that was a wicked curveball to Hernandez. Late break out of the strike zone.
Mets with a runner in scoring position and 1 man away, and Martinez back to Hernandez. And that'll do it. So Keith Hernandez strikes out for the second out here in the first.
The 1-1 pitch and the 1-2 pitch were exactly in the same spot. Watch this curveball. Boy, that is a nasty curve right there from Martinez. Keith, usually a good breaking ball hitter, with 2 strikes especially, because he looks for it often. I don't think too many guys are going to handle that curve.
One point in Martinez's career, He really had a tough session. He was in rehabilitation for drinking and what have you, and he has made a strong comeback and has become an outstanding pitcher for the Montreal Expos. They gave him a good chance, as they did with Pascual Perez, who also has gone through rehabilitation.
For the second time.
So Darryl Strawberry, the batter, with a .333 average, and Jeffries chased back at second. Strawberry 1 for 8 in this series. Darryl has no home runs so far this year. And he gets that curveball, but this one stays up too high. 1-1 the count. Darryl last year with 39 home runs, 101 runs batted in. And he got off to a great start right here on opening day against Martinez, when he had 2 home runs and a 4-for-4 day last season on opening day in Montreal.
Only one of those home runs was hit off Martinez, as a matter of fact.
The other one, a monstrous shot. So Strawberry right up there among the home run kings. Total home runs at the age of 27. Hank Aaron had 219, Willie Mays 188, Darryl Strawberry 187. Babe Ruth, of course, was a pitcher for 6 years before he really got into being a starting outfielder. 2-2 the count. Just underway here in Montreal, with Mookie Wilson getting a single to start out the ball game, was thrown out attempting to steal, and then Jeffries got a single. Keith Hernandez batting struck out when Jeffries moved down the second on a balk. And now the count 2-2 to Darryl Strawberry. Fastball, strike 3. So the Mets get 2 hits, leave 1. And the score after 1/2 inning, the Mets nothing, Montreal coming up, and here's a word from Pergamet.
News.
Well, the doctor on the mound for the New York Mets, Dwight Gooden. Gooden, with a record of 1 win and no losses, has worked 7 innings. He has given up 4 walks, struck out 8 in the 7 innings that he allowed 5 base hits, and making his second appearance as the starting pitcher this year.
And the lineup for Les Expos. Tim Raines, the left fielder, the brilliant left fielder, leading off. Dave Martinez, the center fielder, batting second, followed by Mike Aldretti, the first baseman. Hubie Brooks, the ex-Met, batting fourth. Third baseman Tim Wallach hitting fifth. Tom Foley, the second baseman, batting sixth. Behind the plate, Nelson Santovenia batting seventh. Spike Owen, the shortstop, hitting eighth. And Dennis Martinez, the pitcher, batting ninth.
And behind Doc Gooden will be Keith Hernandez at first base. Jeffries playing second base, Elster at shortstop, Johnson at third. Reynolds, Wilson, and Strawberry in the outfield left to right. And Carter, who was 35 years of age yesterday, behind the plate. The leadoff batter for Montreal will be Tim Raines. Tim 2 for 5 so far in this series. Overall hitting .200 for the year, 3 hits and 15 at-bats. And he fouls off the first pitch. Raines last year hit .270 with 12 home runs, 48 runs batted in. First time he was ever on the disabled list. He was bothered by hamstrings, and then later on he had a shoulder problem, had an operation in the wintertime.
Truly remarkable to be one who runs as much as Raines does, 544 lifetime stolen bases, and has never had a leg injury to speak of.
Tim Raines started off his major league career in 1981 and led the league in stolen bases in that abbreviated season. And he has been the most successful stolen base man in the history of baseball. He's been successful 78% of the time in his stolen base attempts. Make that 87% of the time in the stolen base attempts. Gooden throws a fastball that's fouled back, so it's strike 2. He has not hit Gooden well. He's hitting .182 against the doctor with 6 hits and 33 at-bats. Of course, a lot of people can say that. Gooden with the best winning percentage ever in the history of baseball. with pitchers with 100 or more decisions. 92 and 35. And a good curveball. So Raines hooked out of there. He doesn't like the call by Jerry Crawford. Crawford has a very short fuse. There's the overall percentage record of the top pitchers in baseball. Gooden right on top. And interesting to see Babe Ruth right in there, as he was a pitcher for the Boston Red Sox before going to the Yankees. Spud Chandler, former Yankee pitcher, second, and then Clemens in that third position. So one away, and the batter will be Dave Martinez, who has hit Gooden well. Takes the curveball, strike one. Martinez hitting .321 against Gooden with 9 hits, one of them a home run. Montreal has hit only 4 home runs off Doc Gooden. Martinez 0 for 3 in this series.
And 0 for 11 on the season. As a matter of fact, getting out of the chute is nothing new for Dave Martinez. He has had a very difficult time here in Montreal. As a matter of fact, he was 0 for his first 20 last year after coming over from the Cubs for Mitch Webster.
It took him 4 days to report to Montreal. He had a pretty good reason, though. He was the host of his own wedding reception in Chicago.
That's better than being the host of someone else's wedding reception. If you're the host of someone else's wedding reception, something is strange.
And this ball bunted foul. It'll be back out of play. He came after that wedding reception. He came over here and went 0 for 20. Must have been quite a party.
4-dayer, huh?
Mitch Webster, who was in that trade for Dave Martinez, had a big day the other day for Chicago, and they headlined the big day in the papers up here. Chopped out to Gooden. He has an easy play. 2 men away. So the doctor retiring his first 2 batters. No score. We're in the first inning. And Mike Aldrete will be the batter. Aldrete, a pinch hitter yesterday, struck out, so he's 0 for 1 in the series. Against the doctor, he's hit .353 with 6 hits and 17 at-bats. And the fastball a strike. Been a lot of talk about Gooden in the daytime and Gooden at night. He has a much better record tonight than in the daytime. But what do you call his record when he pitches inside in the daytime?
Dome time.
His dome time is pretty good. In the daytime, he is 29 and 15 with an earned run average of 3.52. At night, he is 63 and 20 with an earned run average of 2.20. And a good curve.
Well, that's the difference, see, between Dwight Gooden now and Dwight Gooden 6 years ago. He retired Raines on the call, third strike with a curveball. He got Martinez on the curve, and then another nasty curve to Aldrete.
And the fastball just does miss. 2-2. When Gooden first hit the scene, he had one of the great moving fastballs. And another curveball. This one out to Elster, who takes his time. And the Montreal Expos go in order. And the score at the end of 1. Montreal nothing, the New York Mets nothing. Here's a word from the good old guys. Kevin McReynolds will lead it off for the Mets here in the top of the second inning. No score. McReynolds 1 for 8 so far in this series. Hitting .200 for the year with 2 runs batted in. 3 for 15. And Dennis Martinez, the pitcher for Montreal. Fastball a strike. Mets lost 5 games to Montreal during spring training this year. They were 0-5 against Montreal, and of course are 0-2 in this series. So they have not defeated Montreal this year. And there's a drive to the left. Going back as Raines, he's there. So 1 away. And you're watching Mets Baseball 89 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. Martinez reached for 2 hits in the first inning, but helped out on a fine throw by Santovenia, throwing out Mookie Wilson attempting to steal. And now the batter will be Gary Carter. Carter 1 for 4 against Montreal this year. He's had 1 base hit starting this season, 1 for 11.
After the game today, the Mets travel to Pittsburgh. They have a workout tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I guess Gary Carter has some pre-workout engagements.
Maybe he can play catch with the president.
Possibly.
President,
he'll be in the right town for it.
Washington, D.C. It's been popped up and playable. And that's the out. Carter has been invited to visit with the president for National Volunteer Week, representing Leukemia Society. He is the chairman of the sports committee for leukemia. And he'll be with George Bush, who at one time was a fine NCAA player for Yale University. First baseman, played in the finals of the NCAA 2 years. That'll bring up Howard Johnson, and Howard 2 for 8. One of 2 players on the Mets team that's had 2 hits in this series. He and Elster. And there's one down the line. If it's fair, it will be extra bases. It is a fair ball. So Johnson on his way, and he goes in for the double.
Hojo going hard all the way, and that's something in past years that he hasn't done. He hasn't run hard out of the box, but that's how you make doubles out of singles. Hubie Brooks playing him to pull, but Hubie did not throw that ball well from right field, and there's Hojo. He takes such a big swing that it kind of takes time for him to get unraveled and to get down to second base. A solid double by Johnson. Brooks, you got to think by that throw to second, has something wrong with his arm.
Could be. So the Mets again with a runner in scoring position, and the batter is Kevin Elster. He takes a breaking ball for ball 1. Elster 2 for 6, brings a 4-game hitting streak into this game. Batting .462, had a home run off Dennis Martinez opening day last year.
His second at bat of the '88 season.
And the fastball.
That was a down and in fastball that Elster hit for that home run. Pitchers have memories like elephants.
Yeah, the total of 9 home runs last year while hitting .214. And there's the breaking ball. Martinez with a fine curveball. Struck out 2 in the first inning, one of them on a curveball. That was Keith Hernandez, and one on a fastball, Darryl Strawberry. Back with a fastball, and the count 3-1. The on-deck batter, Doc Gooden.
This is certainly a pitch around situation with 2 out and Johnson at second. So Elster may see the curveball again.
I'd have to guess curveball here.
First base open. If he got it 2-0, you can look for it 3-1.
Pitchers running those patterns, they'll show you that breaking ball when you have good control at any time. He goes to the fastball, and Elster doesn't get it. 3-2. The one thing about having a 3-1 count, you can guess and guess wrong, and you're not hurt much.
High fastball. It may have been ball 4, but this is an understandable swing. If you're hitting in that 8th spot, even if it's ball 4, you want the RBI. You don't want to leave it up to the pitcher. So if he didn't get the curveball 3-1, he'll probably get it 3-2. We'll see.
Elster with 2 runs batted in, hitting with a runner in scoring position. Howard Johnson at second. And the sidearm fastball, a sinking fastball, grounded to the second baseman Foley, and the Mets get 1 hit and leave 1 in scoring position. Second time in 2 innings, and the score at the end of 1.5 innings, the Mets nothing and Montreal nothing. Here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Well, a financial update. As of Friday's close, the Dow Jones up 12.8 points, and the Standard & Poor's 500 up 1.87. And also up, Tim McCarver coming in for the play-by-play.
Hi, Ralphie. Thank you very much. The American Express financial update. Dow Jones average. That Dow Jones to be distinguished from the one traded for Mike Aldretti, Tracy Jones, now playing the outfield for the San Francisco Giants, as Hubie Brooks fouls a high fastball back. No score here in the bottom of the second.
And not related to Mac Jones, who was a big hero up here in Montreal.
It was indeed. 20th anniversary of the Expos' existence in Major League Baseball. 0-1 to Hubie Brooks. And another fastball, strike two, 0-2.
Montreal opened up their first game with the New York Mets back in 1969 and won it 11-10.
At Shea Stadium.
Tom Seaver, the starting pitcher, knocked out of the box. Cal Kuntz, the losing pitcher. And the first home run hit by McGinn.
Dan McGinn.
A punter for Notre Dame.
Left-handed pitcher. He could hammer. 1-2 to Brooks. Curveball. Foul down the left field line. Still 1-2 to Hubie.
Rusty Staub had a home run in that ball game.
I was on a team that opened up here at Parc Jarry. Opening day, Dal Maxwell hit an opposite field grand slam home run. First grand slammer. First grand slammer hit out of the country. Didn't take him long either. Hubie down on strikes. That's right. Maxey didn't have that many home runs, did he?
Sure didn't.
So Gooden has retired the first four Expos to face him, and the batter will be Tim Wallach.
Hubie Brooks hitting .414 before that strikeout against Doc Gooden in his major league career. He brought a 5-game hitting streak into the game.
Curveball is inside and high. 1-0 to Tim Wallach. Off to a good start this year. Pretty good numbers after a dreadful offensive year last year. Ground ball sharply. Good play by Johnson. And he throws him out.
Wallach, the first batter to hit 2 home runs in one game off Dwight Gooden.
After going 1 for 19 against him, his first 19 at bats. 2 out.
Now right here, Hojo, who's been having some problems this year throwing, throws right off the top and gets it over to Keith Hernandez. Hojo made 2 errors in the first game of this series, throwing.
Actually against the Cardinals, right? On Wednesday.
That is true.
Curveball low. 1-0 to Tom Foley. You like to see him get up on top when he throws. The 2 throwing errors against the Cardinals last week was when he dropped down.
He started the double play here and did a good job throwing quickly to second.
1-1 to Tom Foley. Tried to hold up. He went too far. A foul tip. A ball and 2 strikes to Foley. No score, bottom of 2. The Mets trying to salvage game 3 of this 3-game series. Dwight Gooden, the only pitcher in the W column for the Mets. The Mets 1-3 on the year. Gooden 1-0 on the year. 2-2 to Foley. Ground ball, shortstop, Elster throws him out. 6 in a row, retired by Gooden. No score after 2, and we're back after this from Nissan. Doc Gooden leads it off here in the top of the 3rd inning. No score. The Expos winning games 1 and 2 of this 3-game series. The Mets trying to get 1 win under their belt before they head for Pittsburgh with a night game on Tuesday and a day game on Thursday. We'll have both of those games right here on WWOR TV as Gooden grounds out on the curveball, 1 away. Folks, this copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the entertainment of our audience. Publication, reproduction, or use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the written consent of the New York Mets, Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, and WWOR-TV is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is similarly prohibited. So Gooden out of there. Mookie Wilson now. Mookie singled and was caught stealing on a fine throw by Nelson Santovenia in the first. Change-up, the first of the game for Martinez, is high. One and one to Wilson. Bad ball, a foul tip. A ball and 2 strikes to Mookie. William Hayward Wilson. Mookie attended the University of South Carolina with former Met pitcher Ed Lynch. Tapper toward third. Tough play. Wallach, bare hand, no chance. I think Tim might have been better off letting that ball roll foul. Infield hit for Wilson.
He had no chance to throw Mookie out. With Mookie's speed, the only shot might have been if he let the ball go, and it would go into foul territory. It's right down the line. Chopped out there. Probably wouldn't have gone foul, though.
Of course, if he lets it go, if
Where's the
Slava
shortstop? Come on, Spike Owen.
Yeah, that's right. The Spike Owen used to playing on a grass infield at Boston. Of course, he has had artificial surface experience when he was a member of the Seattle Mariners. Greg Jeffries, a looper to left field in the first. The Mets with 2 hits back-to-back, but then Hernandez struck out, Strawberry struck out, and before that, Wilson was caught stealing. No balls, 1 strike to Greg Jeffries. Jeffries with almost no extra movement as a hitter. Nothing wasted. Better known as a compact swing from both sides.
Very good swing from both sides of the plate.
No loop in the swing. Doesn't take the bat back too far. Those hands really motor through the strike zone.
Most left-hand batters have a loop in their swing.
True. High, ball 1. 1-1 to Jeffries.
He's already gained the respect of the National League. They pitch him very carefully now, and he has not been getting many good pitches to hit. He's been a little impatient up there, going after pitches that are really pitchers' pitches, borderline pitches that are tough to hit.
Wilson back again.
The key to hitting is getting a pitch to hit that you can handle well, and of course, you have that option until you get down to 2 strikes.
And when you're hitting in that number 2 hole, accept the walk, because your 3 and 4 and 5 hole hitters coming up behind you. That's outside, 2 balls and a strike. You can't make a living swinging at the pitcher's pitch, and most of the pitcher's pitches are out of the strike zone.
Best I've ever seen at getting a good pitch to hit was Ted Williams.
Rusty Staub, you mentioned Staub, Keith Hernandez, outstanding hitters along those lines.
They'll take you down to 2 strikes before they'll go after that tough pitch. In most cases.
But Jeffries in, for instance, a very offensive situation now with the count 2 balls and 1 strike.
It's a good hit and run pitch. That count 2-1.
No score. We're in the third. Montreal's Olympic Stadium. First year for the Summer Olympics back in 1976. Echoes of Bruce Jenner, decathlon champ that year. The curveball lifted to left. Raines with the great speed makes a great catch. 2 outs. Terrific play by Tim Raines.
Well, Raines has that outstanding speed, and he uses it to catch up to this one. And that's a tough play as the ball is curving away from him, and he makes a backhand grab and then rolls on over. Mookie Wilson was halfway on the play, so he had to go back to first.
So a nice play by Tim Raines and the batter Keith Hernandez with 2 outs now. Wilson still at first. 4 hits for the Mets, none for the Expos. Gooden has been perfect through 2, and Hernandez takes a strike. 0-1.
Struck Keith out with a curveball, starting him off with a fastball here in this second at bat.
The 6th time that Martinez has thrown to first.
Who is the worst at that, Sutcliffe or Martinez?
Worst or best, depending on
how you look.
If you're catching, it's the best because you don't mind. Just keep them close. Sutcliffe, very deliberate workers. They throw a lot to first base. 1-1 to Hernandez. Sam Perlazo looking into the Mets dugout to see if Davey Johnson has him running. The Expos have another guy who throws a lot to first, Andy McGaffigan.
He throws over there when no one's on.
The fastball is outside 2-1, just to stay in practice.
Stay in practice.
Two balls, 1 strike. Wilson faked going on that last pitch. Santavena gunned him out in the first inning. We'll see if he's running here. There he goes. Curveball lifted foul. So Wilson was indeed running. But the count 2-2 to Hernandez.
Mookie had 15 stolen bases last year, and Dykstra, who also shares center field with him most of the time, at 30.
Mookie, the all-time Mets stolen base leader. Number 2 on the list, his teammate Lee Mazzilli. There he goes again. Fastball popped up. In foul territory is Tim Wallach. And he makes the play. So the Mets threaten again and fail to score after 2.5, no score, and we're back after this from Metropolitan Life. Text for more information. Mets baseball and excellent.
Well, the Mets and Farmland Dairies are proud to announce the return of the Junior Mets Club, open to fans 14 and under. Members receive exclusive items featuring an official baseball card collection album, plus a whole lot more. To join, send $5 plus 2 Farmland Dairies proofs of purchase to Junior Mets Club, Post Office Box 4777, Trenton, New Jersey 08650. Include your name, address, telephone number, and allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. To find out where Farmland Dairies milk is sold, call 1-800-631-7739.
Olympic Stadium in Montreal. No score, bottom of the 3rd inning, and the fine young catcher of the Expos, Nelson Santavena, leads it off against Dwight Gooden, who has retired 6 in a row. Santavena batting .250 with 1 home run, and that was against Darling on a curveball Friday night. He takes a strike on the fastball.
He's 3 for 7 in this series.
Good-looking ball player. Lines up the middle for the base hit. And the first base hit of the ball game for the Expos. So Santavena's on. #1 draft choice of the Montreal Expos back in 1982.
Get the idea, he's a pretty good curveball hitter. That was a breaky ball he hit there, and he hit a good curve off Darling out of the ballpark all the way.
Spike Owen now the batter. Spike the shortstop. Nobody out. Santavena at first base. Fastball for a strike. 0-1 to Spike Owen. One and one. Owen faced Dwight Gooden back in the 1986 series when he was a member of the Boston Red Sox. We'll see if the hit and run is on. Flash by Jackie Moore, the third base coach. Rafael Landistor, the first base coach for the Expos. Foul tip, and it's a ball and 2 strikes to Owen.
Spike hit 300 in that World Series against the Mets in '86.
6 for 20 with a couple of RBIs. There's Jackie Moore, formerly the manager of the Oakland A's. Nothing on here with the count 1 ball and 2 strikes to Owen. Santavena, not a fast runner. Popped up. Left side. Back is Elster. In is McReynolds, and it's McReynolds who waves off Elster. 1 out.
On the National League scoreboard, the Cardinals struggling this year, leading 5-0 in the 3rd inning against the Philadelphia Phillies. Dodgers 0, Atlanta 0. That's in the bottom of the 1st. Later on, Pittsburgh and Chicago, San Diego and Houston, San Francisco and Cincinnati. In the American League, the Yankees 1-0 over Cleveland, top of the 4th. Milwaukee in Detroit, postponed because of cold weather. Baltimore and Minnesota later. Boston and Kansas City later, as is Toronto and Texas, Seattle and California, Chicago and Oakland. Boston, the only team that has not won a game so far this year.
Once that Seattle won their game yesterday. The Mariners getting into the win column. Now Martinez, this is a bunting situation, but last year he squared around the bunt and then swung away 2 times against the Mets. So we'll see if he uses that same strategy here. 1 out, 1 on, no score. We're in the 3rd. Yep. And I think he went too far. 0-1 to Martinez.
Well, he fakes the bunt by moving out in bunting position. There it is. Now he comes back. I don't think he did swing.
Jerry Crawford called it a swing. Didn't appear that he went around. 0-1 to Martinez. Foul back, 0-2.
Well, this time he shows bunt and does attempt to bunt it. Ball coming up and getting Carter.
Don't want to have bad fingers when you go shake hands with the president tomorrow, do you?
Got to keep those hands out of there.
Gary, a trip to the White House tomorrow. As a matter of fact, he knows Bush quite well, telling me before the game. Curveball got him. So Martinez down on strikes. 3rd strikeout for Gooden. And with 2 out and 1 on, Tim Raines will be up.
Well, George Bush's uncle was a owner of the New York Mets. He used to visit the ballpark a lot before he became vice president and then later on president.
Carter took a trip with George Bush down to Central America, to Honduras, as a matter of fact. And I guess after that, Bush promised him a rose garden, because that's where they're having lunch tomorrow, in the Rose Garden. You've heard that song, They Never Promised You a Rose Garden?
That disproves that.
Yeah. Curveball outside and low. 1-0 to Tim Raines, who struck out his first at bat. Infield and outfield straight away for Tim Raines. And there, a delayed steal, and Carter's throw gets Santavania. So Kevin Elster and Gary Carter conspiring to nail the sneaky Santavania. No score after 3. Steve Zabriskie joins Ralph Kiner after this from the 9X Yellow Pages.
Opening day last year, Mets memories. They're brought to you by The Wiz, and here is a very good memory for anybody who was here. Darryl Strawberry's monstrous home run off the ring. The pitcher was Randy St. Clair, and that ball hits off the ring above the lights, just below the roof, and Steve Garland pointing to where it did hit as Strawberry picks up a home run. The Mets won that ball game with 6 home runs, 10-6 over Montreal. And a man who is here to see that Wiz memory, Steve Zabriskie.
Thanks, Rafi. That was some shot. I'll tell you, that came very close to leaving this park altogether, and that's a feat that may never be accomplished because they don't know, now that they have the roof on, how to get it off.
Well, they did. Someone did hit one out of this ballpark. Bren Smith, the pitcher.
He did?
He did. It was a golf ball.
Oh, okay. Strawberry skies the breaking ball into short center field. Dave Martinez right there, one away. Today's game being brought to you in part by your Lincoln Mercury dealers and by the New York Daily News, New York's hometown paper. Quickly, one out here in the 4th inning. And Kevin McReynolds will be the batter. Kevin, his first time up in the 2nd, hit one on the nose, but Tim Raines tracked it down in left center field. Ball 1. And ball 2. No score. We're in the 4th inning. The Mets have 4 hits. Montreal has managed but 1 against the Doctor through 3.
Mets have left 22 men on base in a total of 21 innings against Montreal so far in this series.
Right in there. Well, Bill Robinson, the Mets batting instructor, decided this morning that he would tape the lineup card over the door in the clubhouse instead of on the clubhouse door, in an effort to change things up a little bit, as the Mets have just not been hitting. A .220 average so far this year coming into the game. McReynolds pops it up in foul territory, and it's going to be out of play about a half a dozen rows back.
That way you get the Mets looking up.
There you go. Just keep your chins up, guys. Robbie said he figured he'd try anything at this point with the frustration. There are only 3 Mets who have started off over 300, Strawberry, Johnson, and Elster. The only 3 on the club to have averages under 300 through the first 4 games. Everybody else is trying to hit their weight. High fastball. And now a 3-2 count to McReynolds with 1 out and nobody on.
Mets have scored 14 runs this season, and 8 of those in the first game won by Dwight Gooden against the Cardinals.
Sidearm delivery, grounded up the middle. Owen can't get a base hit into center field. A 1-out single by McReynolds.
Mets now with their 5th base hit. And this one on the artificial turf, going by Spike Owen. And once again, the Mets have a base runner.
And perhaps no one on the Mets club exemplifies more the offensive struggle than this guy. Carter now 1 for 12 on the year after popping up in foul territory to Santavania in the 2nd inning.
He's batted .217 against the Montreal Expos since coming to the Mets from Montreal. He has hit 9 home runs, 3 of those last year. Always really like to do well against the club that traded you away, and it hasn't been the case for Carter.
Way high. I think, Ralph, what happens, at least the noticeable thing that happens, is that a guy either does very well or very poorly against the team he was traded from. Rarely do you see the majority of people, you know, hit 250 against the club they were traded from. They're either closer to 200 or over 300.
A lot of cases you try too hard.
Yep. And I think to a certain degree that's been part of Gary's problem. He has been known to press a little bit.
He's 1 for 4 against Montreal coming into this game this year. Fouled out his first time up.
1 ball, 1 strike. Kevin McReynolds has not yet this season attempted a stolen base. But going on his history in the big leagues, when he does, you'd have to believe that he's going to be safe.
21 for 21 last year.
He may have, although he has far, far fewer stolen bases, he may have a higher success percentage than even Tim Raines. Speaking of a career average, Carter misses the high heat, and it's 1 and 2. Setting up outside, and that's where the pitch is, but too far. So it's 2 and 2. McReynolds at first with 1 out. Did Gary go? Yes, he did. Throw to first, not in time. And Carter is struck out. 2nd out of the inning.
And it's the 3rd strikeout for Martinez. McReynolds not running on the play, draws the throw at first. Andretti didn't handle the throw, but he would have been safe anyway.
So Kevin still at first now with 2 out. And Martinez now will face Howard Johnson. Hojo doubled his first time up, a 2-out double in the 2nd inning to right field, but he was stranded at second. Fouled off the other way, and it's going to be out of play. One of the things they've done here to the Big O in Montreal is they've added seats and built new dugouts, and in doing so, they have decreased the monstrous area of foul territory that used to be here. They used to have the entire Olympic running track between home plate and the first row of seats. And now the dugouts are dug out, and they've added a half a dozen rows of seats, so they've added about 18 feet. You can see now that there are steps going down into the dugout. You used to walk in at ground level, and it was like taking a cab from the dugout to home plate. But now it's more like a real baseball stadium.
Little things like that bother you when you strike out, that long walk back to the bench.
Yeah, the agony has been decreased by about 18 feet. And it certainly helps the hitters, because that means that more balls that are fouled off go out and play than get caught for outs. Fastball outside.
I wonder if they'll keep a stat on that. Batters making out before they move the stands closer. They got stats and everything else.
I guess so. Pre-extra seats. And then post-extra seats.
Pittsburgh at the old Forbes Field used to have a ton of room back of home plate in foul territory.
You had to hate that.
120 feet.
Outside again, 2-1 to Hojo.
Ernie Lombardi, who's in the Hall of Fame of baseball, one of the great hitting catchers. When the foul balls would go up, he'd just turn, put his glove behind his back, and ask for a new ball from the umpire. He never went after him. They used to give him a bad time about it. Finally, he did go after one. He ran and he ran. Of course, he was the slowest man to ever play the game of baseball. Made a diving catch. He says, that'll show you.
There you go. He did his one. Time is called as Johnson steps out. Hojo's off to a great start. As you see, Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry. Each of them 0 for 2 today. And McReynolds draws another throw. Johnson now with his second inning double, his first at bat today, has 6 hits in 15 times up this year. McReynolds is running. The curveball is called a strike, and the throw way off line and into center field. Foley couldn't even back it up, and McReynolds goes to third easily. So it'll be a stolen base and then a throwing error on Nelson Santovenia, allowing McReynolds to go to third, where he is with 2 out.
Oh, Kevin, 21 for 21 in stolen bases last year. Now 1 for 1 this year. And he easily beats the play to throw a bad throw, and he goes on to third on the throwing error. The record for consecutive stolen bases is 38, held by Davy Lopes.
Santovenia ordinarily quite accurate. That is the 8th error that Montreal has committed so far this year. The Mets have made 6. And neither one of them among the leaders in team fielding so far. So McReynolds at third with a 2-2 count to Howard Johnson and 2 away. Strike 3, a fastball call. Martinez strikes out the last 2 in the inning, has 4 in the ball game, and again the Mets leave a runner in scoring position as McReynolds is stranded at third. Middle of the 4th, still no score, and we're back after this for your Lincoln Mercury dealers. Detroit hosting Milwaukee, but postponed by cold weather. 26 degrees at game time there. Of course, they have the roof here, and so we're able to play regardless. 26 was about the low here in Montreal last night. Davey Johnson trying to wonder, or I'm sure wondering, what he can do to heat this club up, even though they're in the dome. Tim Raines laces one to left, but McReynolds is right there, and there's 1 out. Raines was at the plate when Santovenia was caught stealing on a delayed steal to end the third. So Timmy gets to hit again to no avail. Dwight Gooden has retired all but 1. That was Santovenia who singled, so he has faced the minimum now through 3 1/3, with Santovenia being caught stealing. Dave Martinez still looking for his first hit. He is 0 for 12 on the year. And he takes a ball. Nasty Lord Charles that was. Martinez chasing it, and it's 1-1.
Well, a good breaking ball, as the doctor has one of the best of the Lord Charles varieties.
Fastball high and away. Dwight Gooden was donating this year $1,000 for each victory that he acquires to a children's hospital somewhere. First one went to the St. Pete Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. And if the doctor wins today, or if in fact whenever his second victory of the year happens, he's going to donate another $1,000 to the Tampa, Florida General Hospital. That fastball's in there, and the count now 3-2 to Martinez. And Rich Griffin, the PR director for the Expos, pointed out, Ralph, it puts a lot of heat on the bullpen if Doc leaves and the bullpen comes in to save the game. They're thinking, I got to do it for those kids in the hospital somewhere.
Good incentive.
Martinez fouled it off to stay alive, so still a full count. 1 out, nobody on, no score. Bottom of the 4th inning. Again, the foul back. And the noise you hear in the background is the Canadian version of the wave. It's like a wake of a ship going up the St. Lawrence River. Not what you call pounding surf. McReynolds chases it down in left field, and there are 2 gone.
Of course, the city of Montreal is located on an island. On the ground, 5. In the air, 3. Strikeouts, 3. Gooden struck out 8 his first game.
Doc will tell you over and over he is not concerned about the number of strikeouts he gets. He likes those ground ball outs. And like any pitcher, he likes those outs. That pitch called a strike looked to be a little high. The strike one to Mike Aldretti, who grounded out his first time up. Fouled away. And that fastball by Andretti before he could get the bat on it. So it's 0-2. An indication of how Dwight Gooden is throwing are not only the fouls the other way, but the outs. Aldretti and Martinez, both left-handed hitters, fouling or hitting the ball to left field for outs, and now Aldretti struck out with a 4th K for Dr. K. Still no score. Dwight Gooden has faced the minimum through 4, and we have completed 4. We're back after this for Shell Gasoline.
Well, Kevin McReynolds coming up on that record we mentioned, 38 consecutive stolen bases. He now has 33 consecutive stolen bases.
21 for 21 last year. Was it 21, Ralph?
21 out of 21.
Yep.
And the year before, he had 11.
11 in a row to end the season, and then 1 for 1 this year. So 5 to tie Davey Lope's record of 38 consecutive without being caught. Kevin Elster leads off the top of the 5th inning for New York and takes a breaking ball from Dennis Martinez for strike 1. No score as the Mets have managed 5 hits and the Expos but 1. Elster grounded to second to end the 2nd, and the fastball's inside 1-1. Kevin's hit in all 4 of the games so far with a total of 6 hits. Another fastball inside. 2-1. Dennis Martinez for his career is 5-5 against the Mets with a 2.52 ERA.
4 of those losses last year.
Yep. As good a pitcher as he was for Montreal, he struggled against New York last season. Hit well the other way. Fair or foul? Fair ball, and Elster's going to have at least 2. He's thinking about 3, and he's going to make it. A triple for Kevin Elster.
Well, Elster comes up with his first triple of the year. He's had 3 doubles, so he's had 4 extra base hits out of his 7 base hits so far this year, and he has now hit in every game for the New York Mets in this short season.
And again, Ralph, as we pointed out on Wednesday against St. Louis and all throughout spring training, he is going the other way and driving the ball up the middle. Here he lines it with authority down the right field line. Winds up with a leadoff triple. That's the first triple by any Mets hitter this year. So here's Dwight Gooden. And Doc pops it up foul behind home plate. Out of play. Strike one.
Gooden drove in 9 runs last year. That tied him with Sid Fernandez and Tim Leary for the most RBIs by a pitcher. Doc had 16 hits.
Nubbed off the end of the bat, and it will not get the runner home from third. Aldretti makes the play on Gooden, and Elster must hold. One away.
Well, safety first baseball by Sammy Palazzo, and a good move there as you have the top of your batting order coming up. No chance, no time to take a chance in this spot. So Aldretti, knowing he has plenty of time to get to the ball, makes the tag. And staying at third base is Kevin Elster.
And Dwight Gooden says, enough Aldretti. Doc hit that ball right off the end of the bat. So here's Mookie Wilson, who is 2 for 2. Mookie singled to center in the first and had an infield base hit in the third.
Montreal with their first baseman and third baseman in, more to guard against the possibility of a bunt. But they would have a play at the plate on a ground ball. Shortstop and second baseman are back.
Fouled off. And on the play, the second baseman, Tom Foley, ran into a position halfway.
Sort of like Tom Landry's football team.
There you go. Move right before the snap.
That's right. They do that when they're playing the infield in. They'll start with the second baseman and shortstop back at regular depth, trying to decoy the batter into thinking they're not going to have a play at the plate, and then they charge into the in position.
And keep in mind that when you're halfway on the artificial turf, you are almost as if you are all the way in on the grass. That breaking ball's inside, and that time they both came in all the way, not even halfway.
Did the Dallas shift? Of course, Tom no longer with Dallas.
No, and that's a source of consternation to he and others.
Threw out the first ball in the opener in Texas.
With the Rangers, Arlington. And you know what? They had scheduled a Tom Landry Day benefit for him. Not a benefit, but a
celebration?
Yeah, some type of celebration. Right to Aldretti. Here comes Elster, and he's out. He thought he was safe. Jerry Crawford says the ball beat you. And Aldretti throws him out at home. The Mets still unable to score.
Well, right here they take the gamble, trying to get the run in. As the ball's hit out to Aldretti, the first baseman. He was playing in for a play at the plate and makes it. Elster is out. Now Mookie on at first, and Mookie will have to steal second to get into scoring position to offset that play.
Look at the good job Santovenia does with his foot of blocking the plate.
Very good job.
He didn't let Elster get in there at all.
Mike Scioscia of the Dodgers, very good at that. Probably the best ever was John Roseboro.
Well, you just plant that foot and don't let him move it. Mookie running on the first pitch, but it's lined in the right field by Jeffries, and Mookie's going to score all the way from first. Jeffries going to third as Brooks has trouble picking up the ball. And Wilson scores. The Mets lead 1-0, and we'll see how they score Greg Jeffries. They certainly should give him an RBI, but whether or not it's a double or a triple depends on how badly they feel. Hubie Brooks bobbled the ball in the right field corner.
Well, losing that runner in scoring position was offset by having Wilson go with a pitch. And he was off and running when Jeffries lined it down the right field line. Mookie would have scored no matter what if the ball had been fielded cleanly, as he has that great speed and was running with a pitch. And the Mets finally get on the scoreboard as they cash a runner with 2 men out. Jeffries gets a run batted in, and for Jeffries, his second RBI of the year.
And his second hit of the game. It is going to be scored a double. An error allowing Jeffries to go from second to third, but the RBI is credited to Jeffries. So it's 1-0 New York, and here's Hernandez, who pops up the first pitch into shallow left field. Tim Raines is right there, and the inning is over. But the Mets get a run on 2 base hits. There was 1 error and 1 left. And after 4.5 innings, it's now New York 1, Montreal nothing, and we're back after this for the good old Skies. The Mets, who have struggled to score runs, have scored one here as we look at Pascual Perez in the Montreal dugout. One of the personalities of the game. Probably a good way to put that.
That's a nice way to put it.
And one of the great personalities of the game for these many years. Back to talk to you again, Ralph Kiner.
And one of the great lines in the press guide of Montreal's was that Perez is like a marionette with a string missing.
Consequently, he's often out of control.
Very often out of control. As Hubie Brooks tops it out toward third, it'll be foul. Hubie Brooks was struck out his first time up.
You know, you and Ralph mentioned earlier when Hubie made the offline throw from right field, the possibility that he's still being bothered by that problem to his arm. And I was talking to him before the game today, and I asked him, and of course players sometimes will not tell you, won't tell anybody if they're hurting. But Hubie swore up and down that he does not have any ill effects remaining. He feels 100%, not bothering him at all. But then, as quite often happens, things look different once you get on the field.
Well, he had surgery on his left knee, and his arm's okay.
Well, he did have a shoulder and a wrist problem.
Started his career with the Mets, and the curveball hit hard, and Johnson gets it, gets up, makes a bad throw. Hubie falls down, making the turn. Here comes Gooden, but he can't get there in time, and Hubie Brooks is safe. And he had to get back because he made a move towards second. So another bad throw by Howard Johnson, and that's going to be an item.
Speaking of bad arms, Hojo, of course, with elbow problems and shoulder problems. Earlier, we showed you how he got on top of the ball and threw overhand and made a good throw to Hernandez. Here he gets up and he flips the ball, sort of sidearm, and it just sails. And Brooks, in trying to make the turn, fell down and hustled back to the bag as Doc went right between his legs. Hojo makes a good play to stop the ball, and then he had a lot more time than he took. Hernandez hustling and playing it off the wall. Gooden with a valiant effort. And then he tried to get him again.
In spite of the great stop, they're scoring that as an error on the throw. So Hubie, with a 5-game hitting streak, doesn't get a chance to extend it that at bat.
And there have now been 3 errors in the game, 2 by Montreal and 1 by New York.
Hubie is not one of our best-known base runners.
No.
Hubie did not take off for second going full speed, and it cost him a chance going to third base when the ball was bobbled out there by Strawberry. Wallach hitting the ball very hard.
Well, this may be an indication that Hubie's knee is not 100% either. Wallach just laces this ball the other way, and Brooks, especially when the ball bounces off Strawberry a little bit, had a chance had he broken and run hard immediately to go to third. But see, Hubie's just coasting right here. Now, even though he sees Strawberry bobble, it's too late. You can't go now. If he'd have gone hard all the way, he'd have been on third base easily.
That is correct. Well, right there, they try to put on the steal to get the runners over, and Hubie Brooks is thrown out on a perfect throw by Carter as Foley takes the pitch. So the double steal attempt foiled by this perfect throw by Carter as Hubie Brooks is thrown out.
That ball's waiting for Hubie as he comes in, and so the trailing runner, Tim Wallach, will not be credited with a stolen base of second since Brooks was thrown out at third. And the Expos today are 0 for 2 in attempted steals.
They are now 3 for 7 in stolen bases, 3 stolen bases in 7 attempts. The pitch was called a ball, so they count 1-0, and this ball hit the left. McReynolds will have to go back to the warning track, almost to the warning track, to make the play, and Wallach goes back to second. So Gooden now with 2 men out. The time run at second base, and the batter coming up will be Nelson Santovenia, who singled to center for the first hit of the game for Montreal back in the third. Montreal no runs on 2 hits. The Mets have 1 run on 7.
And until this inning, Dwight Gooden had faced the minimum number of hitters. But with the error to Brooks leading off and the base hit by Wallach, unless Wallach gets picked off, minimum will go by the boards.
Incidentally, Carter has thrown out 2 base runners in this series. He threw out Tim Raines earlier in the series, attempting to steal, and Raines unable to come up with the stolen base this year. Fly ball to right field. Strawberry way back. It's going to be caught by Strawberry on a fine play as he crashes into the fence, and that will retire the side. So in the inning, no runs. 1 hit, 1 error, and 1 man left on base. And the score at the end of 5, the Mets 1 and the Expos nothing. Now here's a word from Busch Beer. So Darryl Strawberry made that spectacular catch to end the inning, leads it off here in the top of the 6th. The Mets leading by a score of 1-0. Darryl has struck out and flied to center field off of Dennis Martinez, and the changeup swung on a miss.
Let's look at Darrell's catch. He turns and runs. One thing Darrell does not do very often, and makes a fine catch right short of the wall. And another change here in Montreal is they have padded the outfield fence all the way around this year.
Have no fear, the wall is near, but that fence has been padded, and it certainly makes it easier for the outfielders.
And from this low angle, you can really see after Darrell leaps, makes the catch, and goes into the padding. Boy, that's a lot nicer landing than that plywood used to be.
Darrell gets a good fastball, has a good swing at it, just a shade behind it, and fouls it off. Darrell hit .333 against the Expos last year with 5 home runs and 13 runs batted in. Had 2 opening day, one of them against Dennis Martinez. So far in this series, he's 1 for 10. And the fastball again.
Hernandez and Strawberry and McReynolds, even though McReynolds has a hit today, all struggling so far this year to get going. Darrell doing the best, really, of any of the 3 in the middle of the order. Hernandez is now 3 for 18 on the year. Strawberry 5 for 17, and McReynolds 4 for 17.
Darrell last season started off 4 for 4 in the opening day game, and this year he started out 3 for 3. And the curveball gets him. 5th strikeout.
Both Martinez and Gooden featuring outstanding breaking balls today, and here's Dennis's version. Boy, that is quality. That's in the Lord Charles category right there. That's no Uncle Charlie. That is serious breaking stuff.
1 away in the top of the 6th inning with Kevin McReynolds a batter. Kevin 1 for 2. Singled in the 4th inning, picked up his first stolen base after the single to give him 33 consecutive stolen bases without being thrown out. The record is 38, held by Davey Lopes. Ground ball to Wallach, the third baseman. Overhand throw taken by Aldretti, 2 men out. So Wallach picks up the assist, 2 men away, and Gary Carter will be the batter.
They love to boo Gary here in Montreal. Never forget the first game Gary played back here after the trade. But the way he's going lately, you might double think that.
Well, they cheered him when he was introduced in his first game, and then booed him when he came to the plate.
That's right. And they were equally as loud.
Of course, he was a fair-haired boy for many, many years with Montreal. Started his career playing in the outfield. John Bateman was a catcher at that time.
Over in Parc Jarry. And aren't you glad we are not there?
The only park in baseball in the major leagues that you had to hold up the game to get the sun set. First baseman couldn't see throws from the infield because the sun was in his eyes. And this one popped up. Tim Raines makes the play, and the Mets go in order for the first time in this game. The score at the end of 5.5 innings. The Mets won and the Expos nothing. Now here's a word from Porsche RD. Well, inside here in the Big O in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Temperature outside about 40 degrees, inside here 70 or so. And the Mets leading by a score of 1-0 with Montreal coming up in the bottom of the 6th inning. Dwight Gooden has given up 2 hits, a single by Santovenia in the 3rd and a single by Tim Wallach in the 5th. Gooden has struck out 4, and he'll be pitching to Spike Owen as his first batter here in the 6th inning. Misses with a fastball. Spike flied out to left field his first time up. Ground ball to Jeffries at second base. 1 away. That'll bring up Dennis Martinez. Martinez struck out his first time up. So Martinez batting here in the 6th inning, even though the Expos are trailing 1-0. Takes a while to earn the respect of your manager to be hitting in the 6th inning when you're trailing in a ball game.
Well, Martinez has pitched very well. And it certainly isn't because the Expos don't have success on their bench. I mean, they've got Wallace Johnson, who was the outstanding pinch hitter in the league last year. They've got guys who have gotten off to a great start this year. Their bench is hitting .375 with 3 RBIs, including 2 game winners so far this season. So they've got some people that could pinch hit for Dennis, but he is pitching very well, and Buck's staying with him.
1 strike to count. It goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. In the month of April, Doc Gooden has a record of 14-2 in his major league career. And a strike call off the fastball.
And his April ERA, Ralph, is 2.06. So good starts to the season are the norm for the doctor.
Last year, Gooden won his first 6 decisions, was 6-0 to start the season. And it's sliced down the right side foul.
Good play by the ball girl. Sonia. That ball was hit hard. The screaming 1-hopper off the AstroTurf. New field, incidentally, here at the Big O also. New carpet.
And you can finally see the ball off the bat.
Yeah, most of the time, anyway.
Another one fouled off.
Well, I'll tell you, when they had the roof, before they had the roof on, and it was a day game here, with the faded turf they had, the only way you could see the ball and where it was going was by the reaction of the fielders. Now, many stadiums, in fact, the vast majority of artificial turf stadiums have gone to this, what is called AstroTurf 8 surface.
Breaking ball for a ball. 2-2. And it all started back in 1965 in the Astrodome when they had natural grass there.
Well, they had natural dirt, Ralph. I played in that place. Natural dirt.
But they had planned to have natural grass and the sun shine through the roof, but there was one small mistake made. You couldn't find the ball.
No, not only that, but it didn't work. There were really two problems. They put lucite panels in the roof, and they grew a special strain of grass that they said would grow. Well, that didn't work. And the other problem was you couldn't see the ball when it went up against those panels.
Must be the same kind of grass I have in my front yard. Won't grow. So Martinez becomes the 5th strikeout victim.
And he may be hurting. See how Dennis reacts. This is another wicked breaking ball. Martinez ought to know what it looks like, at least from the other end. And you can see he looked like he pulled a muscle in his back. He had a very awkward swing. And even the real good hitters don't always have a real good swing at Doc Gooden's breaking ball. But Martinez may have injured himself a little bit.
With that swing, he really did jerk his back. I've seen players bow to a curveball. That was one of the good bows right there. Popped it up, and the batter, Tim Raines, becomes the 3rd out of the inning. Gooden now has retired 5 in a row, and the score at the end of 6 as Tim McCarver joins Steve Zabriskie. It's the Mets 1 and the Montreal Expos nothing. Now here's a word from manufacturers Hanover.
Dennis Martinez, who appeared to hurt himself a little bit swinging at the doctor's breaking ball, is on the mound, has taken his warm-ups, and appears to be, for the moment at least, all right. And he's been pitching very well, so he's in the game. And back in the game, in fact, a guy who's never out of the game, Tim McCarver.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Howard Johnson leads it off here in the 7th. A good ball game, as expected. A low-scoring game. Gooden has the best of Martinez right now. It's 1-0 New York. 7 hits for the Mets, 2 for the Expos. 2 errors for the Expos and 1 for the Mets. The biggest error in this game, probably the missed sign by Tom Foley. The hit and run was on. No way Hubie Brooks is going to try to steal third base with a left-hander up. Johnson on the first pitch rips one to right, but right there is Hubie Brooks. So Hojo 1 for 3. He had doubled earlier in the game, and the batter Kevin Elster.
And as poorly as Howard Johnson has thrown in the field with the errors he has made, he has looked just as good at the plate. He has had a lot of good at bats. He's hit the ball hard, as an indication there. Too hard, really, for a line out. Hojo's locked in at the plate. He needs to transfer some of that to his throwing.
Kevin Elster 1 for 3. He tripled the lead off the 5th, and although he was caught on a fielder's choice ground ball with the infield in by Mookie Wilson, he led to the run because Wilson was at first base when Greg Jeffries doubled to scoring. 1-0 New York. No balls, 1 strike to Kevin Elster. Little looper left field. Again, Brooks makes the play. But that'll bring up Gooden.
Elster with his base hit, the triple in the 5th, extending his hitting streak to 5 games, and that is a career high for Kevin.
It seems like yesterday when Dwight Gooden, 19 years old, won his first major league game in Houston at the Astrodome.
Indoors, just as we are today, only a different indoors.
Line drive, base hit. And to this day, he loves to talk about his hitting more than his pitching. Lining one to left center for a double. That's hit number 8 for the Mets. So Gooden with a double, trying to help his own cause. That'll bring up Mookie Wilson.
Well, the doctor has needed a doctor lately. He has been under the weather and has been on medication with a little flu bug. But you certainly wouldn't know it by the way he has pitched and now hit today. Only the speed of Tim Raines cuts that ball off, or the Doc might have been on third base had that ball gotten through.
The Doc is all smiles when he's hitting. Talked about that game in '84 in the Dome. His mother Ella Gooden and his father Dan Gooden were present. I'll tell you where Ella and Dan are today as Mookie Wilson fouls one off, 0-1. Dan and Ella Gooden this morning actually, along with Betty Sheffield, took a plane to Milwaukee to see Doc's nephew Gary Sheffield playing in what is to be a rather prolonged homestand. I think they're staying until Wednesday. And it's Ella Gooden's second plane trip. Her first one was to Houston at the Dome.
That's great.
All in the family. Wilson trying to hold up. It's 0-2 to Mookie.
How proud families are when one of their members makes it to the big leagues. And here, the Gooden Sheffields have two.
Tapper toward third. Tough play. Wallach. He got him. That's why he won his second Gold Glove last year. Tim Wallach on a slick play to get Mookie Wilson. Still 1-0 Mets. Middle of the 7th, and we're back after this from your Saab dealers.
Fans, be sure to catch all the action when the Mets return to Shea for an exciting 9-game homestand. New manager Nick Leyva and future Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt lead the Phillies into Shea for 3 games on Monday the 17th through Wednesday the 19th, all 3 beginning at 7:35. And next, the Cubs arrive for a 4-game series with All-Stars Andre Dawson and Ryan Sandberg leading the attack. Game dates are Thursday and Friday, April 20th and 21st at 7:35, Saturday and Sunday. Also, Saturday will be at 2:20, Sunday at 1:35. Then the Mets wrap up their homestand with a 2-game series on April 25th and 26th against Dale Murphy and the Atlanta Braves. Both those games begin at 7:35. And tickets to all these games are available at all Ticketron outlets, Shea Stadium's advanced ticket window, or you can call 718-507-TIXX if you want more ticket information. Big homestand and a long one coming up for the Mets, so we'll see you at Shea.
All right, Steve, you see Brian Holman warming up in the new bullpen area here at Olympic Stadium. The visiting team's bullpen used to be in right center field behind the wall and in left center field for the home team. So the bullpens have been moved since the fences have been padded.
And there's the Mets bullpen area down the left field line. There's what it looks like now behind the fence. They've had a lot of construction material and everything out there for years, and maybe they finally finished this albatross. And now they got the roof on, they can't retract it, so it may be a forever dome stadium. What a zoo it's been. 15 years it took them to get the roof on, now they can't get it off.
Hi to Dave Martinez, still looking for his first hit. Dave 0 for 13 on the year. 1-0 New York. We're in the bottom of the 7th. There's a strike, 1-1. Tight and high. 2 balls and a strike to Dave Martinez.
You pointed out earlier, Timmy, how when Dave Martinez came here from the Cubs last year, he struggled and struggled to get his first hit as an Expo.
2-2.
Now he's 0 for 13 this year, and even though he had that experience that last year, you've got to believe that right now the pressure is starting to build. You get into those double digits very far without a base hit, it's easy to press.
Curveball, grounded foul.
And Martinez, for the most part, is a contact hitter. And usually contact hitters don't struggle over long streaks like that as much as guys with bigger swings might.
Yeah, because you have a chance of getting a nubber somewhere. A little looper, infield hit with good speed. tip. Carter couldn't hang on, so it's still 2-2. Johnson close to the line at third base, still in that cutout area. Ojo probably playing shallow because it's an easier throw. Well, Martinez still looking for the first hit. That's strikeout number 6 for Gooden. One out here in the 7th, and Mike Aldretti coming up.
Well, if Doc has had the flu and he's had it enough to be on medication, it certainly isn't evident by what he has done today. Just 2 hits. He has not walked a batter and now has 6 Ks.
Aldretti 0 for 2. And again, the curveball. Gooden's curveball has been exceptional today. 0-1 to Aldretti. Mike, a Stanford University graduate. His brother Rich signed a contract with the Giants last year. So at one time, the Giants had 2 Aldretti brothers. Tight, ball 1, 1-1.
They figured that one was enough already. So they traded me.
Folks, that was not a planned feed. A ball and 2 strikes to Mike Aldretti. I know it sounded like it, but it wasn't.
I learned my puns from the master, who was seated next to me.
Also from Chris Berman. That sounds like a Chris Berman line.
Chris Berman gave him the nickname.
Well, Gary Carter throwing the ball out, rolling the ball out, thinking there were 3 outs. There are only 2 in this league, as Aldretti down on strikeout number 7 for Gooden. Watch Carter.
I think Gary's thinking about the foul tip he failed to catch. See you later. Hello. Time to leave a wake-up call.
Hubie Brooks.
Gary's headed for the White House.
Fouls it back. 1-0 to Hubie. Back in 1960, I saw that play happen with the Cardinals in town playing a 5-game series against the first-place Pirates. It was in the 8th inning with a runner at third base. Ken Burkhart was the umpire, and after Hal Smith had rolled the ball out to the pitcher, Burkhart turned his back. As Brooks turns this one around, a curveball to left field, home run, Hubie Brooks. And it's 1-1 now. Hubie Brooks with his first home run of the year.
That's the second home run that Gooden has given up this season. And if Hubie Brooks has any residual ill effects from the wrist problems that he's had, it certainly isn't evidenced here.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of wrist in this swing. I mean, he went out and got that ball and almost hit it one-handed out of this ballpark.
So Hubie Brooks' first home run of the 1989 season ties it here in the 7th, and the batter Tim Wallach, he's 1 for 2. Curveball is low. Two balls and no strikes.
Wallach's been a hot hitter. In his last 12 at-bats, he has 6 hits.
Ball 3. He may be hitting here, and Carter wants to talk. To complete that story, Hal Smith, the catcher of the Cardinals, threw the ball back. Ernie Broglio picked the ball up, threw it to Ken Boyer. And Boyer tagged Bill Verdon coming back into third base, and Kenny Burkhart didn't see it because he had turned down toward the left field line thinking that it was the 3rd strike. Obviously, a brouhaha ensued, and the Cardinals end up losing the ball game. 3-0 to Wallach. So Wallach is on. That's the first walk issued by Gooden in this ball game. Wallach at first. 2 outs here in the 7th. 1-1, and Tom Foley coming up. Foley was the batter back in the 5th inning with runners at first and second. On the first pitch, Brooks took off for third. Wallach took off for second. Brooks was an easy target for Gary Carter. And Foley eventually flied out, and the Expos came up with nothing in that inning. It had to be a blown hit and run play. 0-1 to Foley.
When was the last time Hubie Brooks tried to steal third?
With a left-handed hitter up, no impediment for the catcher to throw to third. Carter's caught 2 today, and the tapper is foul. 0-2 to Foley. The fans here at Olympic Stadium doing the VAG, V-A-G-U-E, which is the French pronunciation of the wave, and it's spelled V-A-G-U-E appropriately, because if there's anything more vague in baseball, it's the wave.
Especially here, they don't all get up and get into it.
It's really illegal here in the province.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's indoors. There should be no such thing as indoor waves. It's dangerous. Brian Holman continues to throw for the Expos. Wallach's at first base. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Tom Foley, and there goes Wallach. Fastball line to left. McReynolds in, and he makes a shoestring catch in left field. Nice play by Kevin McReynolds to end the 7th. 1 run on 1 hit, 1 left. It's 1-1 after 7, and we're back after this from Nissan. The pictures on the early part of the season have not been good for Davy Johnson, so maybe Davy trying his hand at being a cameraman to change the pictures of his ball club. They've lost 3 in a row. Scores 1-1. Hubie Brooks' first home run of the year. Tied it in the 7th.
And here's the Nissan National League scoreboard. St. Louis all over Philadelphia in the 7th, 9-1. LA at Atlanta, no score. Bottom of the 5th. Top of the 5th. Giants shutting out Cincinnati 6-0. Top of the 4th, Chicago over Pittsburgh 4-1. And the top of the 3rd, Houston shutting out San Diego 4-0. And the Nissan American League scoreboard, Yankees trailing Cleveland 3-1 in the 6th.
Greg Jeffries leading off the 8th, and the curveball's hot.
In that game, incidentally, Ricky Henderson stole his 800th career base today.
Change up high, 2-0.
We'll get you the rest of the American League scoreboard after Jeffries hits.
Also, with that 2 for 3, the only run of the game driven in by Jeffries with a double in the 5th inning. 1-1, we're in the 8th. Martinez and Gooden locked in a beauty. Fouled away. 2 balls and a strike to Greg.
Jeffries now with 5 hits and 2 RBIs in the first 5 games of the year. This being the 5th.
Line to right field, and Brooks is in to make the play. A bullet to right. A nice play by Brooks. 1 out here in the 8th.
Given the fact that there have been a total of 3 errors in this game, it has still been a very well played game. There have been some fine defensive plays turned in on both sides, And this certainly right in there by Hubie Brooks in right field.
Keith Hernandez now looking for his first hit. He's 0 for 3. Curveball is high, 1-0. Change up on the outside corner. 1-1 to Keith Hernandez. Hernandez entering the season with a .299.79 batting average. Last year, the first time he has hit under 300 since 1984. Change up, hit hard down the right field line. Fair ball. Because the ball hit and came up, that allowed Hernandez to get a double, and he's there with 1 out.
Well, sometimes you'll hear us say, and others say, he hit the ball too hard. If this ball had hit the wall first and Brooks plays it well, he holds Hernandez to a single. But because it hits that rubberized warning track and then goes up off the padding and Brooks has to wait for it to come down, it's an easy double. Check out that American League Nissan scoreboard. Milwaukee, Detroit postponed. Baltimore leading Minnesota 3-0. Kansas City leading Boston 4-0. No score Toronto at Texas, and the other two are later.
And Darryl Strawberry now 0 for 3. He has struck out twice. High, ball 1. With McReynolds on deck, you wonder if Martinez will give Strawberry anything good to hit. Hernandez at second with 1 out, 1-1 game. We're in the 8th. Fly ball, center field, and playable. Martinez back. He makes the play. Hernandez will try for third, and he'll make it. So Hernandez moving to third base, but there are 2 outs. And the batter, Kevin McReynolds. That seems to be insignificant now, but if McReynolds gets an infield hit, or even a sharply hit ball to the outfield where Hernandez normally would have had a tough time to score from second, this could be a big play.
If you have someone like Mookie Wilson or Dykstra or Johnson, people who run well on second base, it's much less important for them to get to third with 2 out. But you're right, with Hernandez, who does not possess great speed, much more likelihood that he can score from third base. Also, no matter who the runner is, it opens up the opportunity to score on something other than a hit, such as a pass ball or an error. So you can see that Dave Martinez was sort of leaning back when he caught the ball because Strawberry hit it so well. And Hernandez, of course, the veteran that he is, pick up on that right away, and that enabled him to have a better chance of going to third.
Yeah, Martinez is coming in on the ball. Then Hernandez, as we see Andy McGaffigan now getting up to throw, but Hernandez doesn't even try to go to third base. So Keith, that's a good point. Keith really taking advantage of the position Martinez was in. There's Andy. All and no strikes to Kevin McReynolds. He is 1 for 3. 1-1. Looper, right field. Brooks is over, and he makes the play. So after the 1-out double by Hernandez, Martinez gets Strawberry and McReynolds. It's Buck Rogers, the manager of the year 2 years ago, looking at his lineup card, and Joe Sparks, who was the minor league manager for the Indianapolis Ball Club, the AAA affiliate of the Expos last year. And with Martinez coming up, Steve, I would think that they'll pinch hit for him.
Martinez is scheduled third up here in the bottom of the 8th inning. A 1-1 tie as Nelson Santovenia leads it off. He is single to center. and retired in right field on a fine play by Darryl Strawberry, catching it and then going into the padded wall after the fact. Dave Magadan into the game for New York at third base, replacing Howard Johnson.
And with Hojo due up second in the 9th inning, you would have to think something may be wrong with his arm.
Foul back, right below us.
That's unofficial, by the way. We don't know that for sure, but with Magadan in there, you'd leave Hojo in there for his bat.
Well, Jeff Mitchell getting his camera guys to scan the dugout looking for Hojo. And if he's not on the bench, you'd have to think he's in the training room. And if he's in the training room, you'd have to think there is a problem with his elbow. Elster, smooth as usual, throws out Pennsylvania, 1 out here in the 8th.
Boy, I'll say Elster smooth and effective. This is his 65th game that he has gone without an error. The last 60 of last year's, and the first 4 through this year. The National League record held by a Met scout, Buddy Kerr, with 68 consecutive errorless games as a shortstop. And Eddie Brinkman holds the Major League record, 72. He did that back in 72, the Detroit Tigers.
Spike Owen running up on the pitch but taking it high, ball 1. 0-0 for 2 is flied to shallow left and grounded to second. And Wallace Johnson is out on deck to pinch hit for Dennis Martinez. Fastball for a strike. There's Wallace, pinch hitter extraordinaire. One ball, 1 strike to Spike Owen. 1 out, nobody on, and a 1-1 tie. Fastball lifted to center. Mookie Wilson over, and there are 2 out. Spike hit it pretty well, but Mookie right there. So with 2 out, nobody on, Wallace Johnson will be the pinch hitter. Johnson, looking for his first pinch hit of 1989, is 0 for 1. 0 for 2 made it.
Well, our crack statistician and PR man, Jay Horowitz, has just come in to tell us that Howard Johnson is out with a tight bicep. Now, that's not a shoulder injury, obviously, but it may have been caused by his shoulder injury, since the bicep's about 3 or 4 inches from the shoulder for most people.
And the muscles
Mine
are
used
connected.
to be. Mine's more, it's closer to my elbow than my shoulder now.
6 or 8 inches. I think the deltoid muscle is connected to the bicep. Wallace Johnson, who is actually 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter, is now 0 for 2 as a pinch hitter this year, and the inning is over.